Welcome to the More Than Legacy podcast, where we help ambitious footballers, parents, coaches, and clubs maximize their potential both on and off the pitch. Each week, we'll bring you practical advices, expert insights, the real conversations, and performance, mindset, and everything it takes to succeed in the modern game. Brought to you by More Than Legacy International Soccer Academy, developing the next generation of footballers around the world, and sponsored by Questa Sports, your trusted teamwear partner. Now let's get into today's episode. Today's episode, we're going to be covering what does it really take to become a professional footballer. We're going to start off with the reality versus social media.
Yeah, so it's a huge contrast to what you see on social media from professionals or people in academy compared to what the reality is. A lot of it you see on their posts, they're having fun, they're kind of knocking about, doing their daily training. But what you don't see behind that is all the recovery they have to do, the strict diets they're on, the strict gym plans, the whatever, not going out. Like, that's one thing that's huge for when you're trying to make it as professional. Like, you have to limit yourself going out and so-called enjoying yourself, because you've got to be disciplined enough to keep working while everyone else is out partying, out having fun, going for a few drinks. You've got to have that discipline to put the work in. Otherwise, you're just ending up in the same boat as those who aren't going to make it. So they're two huge things that you don't see on social media, that people don't realize it until they get into it and then go, "But this life isn't for me," because there's no fun at the start. All the enjoyment will come once you make it, because all your hard work's been there for some reason. You've made something out of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, social media, which is pretty much a lot of highlights. There's no low lights in it. It's not medium lights.
Yeah.
It's all highlights, you know what I mean? So the reality is that it is hard. You really have to be serious about it if you want to be a professional. Elements of having fun, being a bit, loose or reckless if you want to be. But there is times the reality is that you will need to be serious. We use the 80-20% thing in everything I do, even with players, where 80%, we're putting a serious work in, and 20%, we're having fun, if you want to call it. But the older I got, and I realized that balance isn't really there when you want to make it, because balance just kind of keeps you medium. But if you really want to do well and achieve great things, you need to kind of tip the scale a little bit. You need to tip the scale in a positive way, in a serious way, because if you just try to say, "Oh, not take it serious for 50% and I'll be serious for 50%, then you're just literally where you are. So some of the conversations we have with players, well, I particularly have with players, in the mindset, it's realizing that balance is not part of the equation. You know what I mean? If you want to make it. So you need to be able to be serious 80% of the time if you want to cut it. So if you're a young player and you're able to get that in your mind quite early, you have a half a chance. But look, again, like I said, you want to be able to leave that 20% where you kind of like, whatever other habits that you love to do, it's not a serious habit. It's not a habit that will get you to where you need to get to. Do that 20% of the time. But 80% of the time, you need to be locked in. So if you're young enough to lock in from 11, 12, whatever age, and realize, I want to be a professional, good for you. If you do it at 15, 16, okay, still good for you. But the younger you start realizing that, you need to tip the scale a little bit in the 70s to the 80 and this side of it. And then the other side of it, of like being loose, or needs to be 20%, maximum 30, to be honest with you, because if not, you just become very even and you become balanced, but that can't cut it. Balance means you're not growing. You're just even, because you're 50%, you've done things that are not supposed to do 50%, and then you gotta do things. So it's like, when you're an adult and you go out 3 times a week and you train 4 times a week, just balancing, you're not growing. So that's what you call balancing. And nobody wants to balance a scale when it comes to being number 1. Now, if you want to be number 10, that's okay with you still. But look, the reality is that it is a 70 to 80%, 80-20. That's my belief that's going to get you to be the top. If you want to get at the top. But now, if you don't want to be, that's also your choice. Like, everything's a matter of choice. Do you get what I mean? If you want to do 50-50, it's also okay. But 50-50 doesn't bring growth. We're looking around that 80%, 80-20 for us to bridge the gap and be world-class athletes. It's more like an overflow of the reality of the social media topic that we covered about professional standards, yeah, about that, implementing that 80-20, you know what I mean? If you don't want it, that's also okay. Because some people are afraid to want it, you know what I mean? They're afraid to be professionals because they don't want to do 80-20. They would love to do 50-50 because, you know what I mean? I can do what I want. What's not worth 50%? But that's also okay. You won't grow. You just be flatlined. So yeah, professional standards, doing things that you don't love to do, but doing it like you love to do it. Like I said, I always use myself now. I don't like running. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I force myself to love running. I mean, I love running now. It wasn't like a thing I liked as a kid, but I love running now. I love going for 3 runs a week or 4 runs a week because I realize I don't like it, but I'm going to make myself love it. So you need to flip it because that's where professional standards will come in. Sweating the little stuff as well. Don't be afraid to sweat the little stuff. What we mean is don't just say, it's okay, Shaw, I'll do it tomorrow. No, do it today. Yeah, setting that professional standards, being a role model for people around you. Don't just copy people who have amateur standards. If you want to be a professional, do things the right way. That's all professional standards is. You know, to be honest, most humans know what the right thing is. If you do the right things and you do it to the best of your ability, that is being a professional. You don't have to be paid to be a professional. You know, part of it is doing the right things, you know?
Yeah, I think similar. It's just doing the stuff that you don't want to do. Like you said, doing the runs when you don't feel up for it, you don't feel like you want to do it. That kind of stuff separates amateurs from professionals. Because, like, being honest, like, no one wants to go train with their team 3-4 days a week. No one wants to. They'd much rather just relax and chill. But the difference between professional and amateurs is professionals will go because, like you said, they're forcing themselves to like it. And if you force yourself enough times that you like something, eventually you will end up liking it. And next minute, it's not so much a chore, but it's more of a hobby. Then you're not going to training and going, oh, I have to go training. You're looking forward to it, or you're looking forward to that run, or you're looking forward to that recovery session, that gym session. So stuff like that is what the standards of a professional are. Just holding yourself up and enjoying all the stuff we consider hard work. Enjoy it, and eventually you'll end up loving it, and that's what separates professionals from the rest of us.
Yeah, sacrifices players underestimate. There's a couple of sacrifices, but there's a very important one that you have to realize there's a price you have to pay to be a footballer. I use the analogy of getting on a bus. You will have to pay the ticket to get on the bus. The bus driver will say, mate, jump off. Do you know what I mean? So in football, we have a certain sacrifices we have to pay. The sacrifice that we have to pay is the work rate, but it's hard. But that's the price of the ticket. There's no free entry. There's no freebies. If you're willing to pay the price, yeah, that's a really good one where players are on that program are players that really want to be professionals. So I can really push them. I can really get them to pay that price. I can really get them to pay the price of the ticket. And if they pay the price of the ticket, a lot of them will become professionals because obviously there's a couple of prices we kind of mentioned that you got to pay the ticket for you to get on that bus, for you to be able to play. There's a couple of prices you have to pay. And one of them is running. That's one of the price of the ticket. That's the entry level. If you cannot do that, well, then you can't get on the bus. So you can't play. And if you will play, you won't really be a professional. So these are some of the sacrifices that you will have to make, which is work.
Especially also missing out on stuff with your friends. Some sacrifices are going to be made where you have to pick, right, I'm going to go training over going out to the cinema or out to the pub or out for food. Like, you're going to miss out on some things with friends, family, but that's all. It's up to you and how motivated you are to make it. Like, those sacrifices growing up could seem huge, but if you make it and then you have a lot more free time and a lot more, obviously, money if you make it big to do what you want, those sacrifices don't really seem that big anymore. So it's all in comparison. Those sacrifices are huge if you end up not making it because you're always thinking, oh, what if I did this? What if I went out with my friends? I should have went out with my friends instead. But if you make it, then them sacrifices seem worth every single minute you missed out on. So it's all just in the eye of the beholder, just in your mindset, how you feel about stuff like that and how much you want it.
Yeah, so we got developing habits before opportunities. This is a very interesting one that I use, especially, like I said, with some of the players. Now they know they're locked in that they want to give it they want to go for it. So, like I say, with these players here, You just need to kind of refine a couple of things, give them the mentality that they need to make it. So you have to be a professional before you become a professional footballer. So developing habits before opportunity. So what we mean by that is if you do what professionals do, you train 4, 5, 6 days a week or whatever, professional teams are doing that. You eat the right things, you sleep well, you do all those things that professional players will do, you foam roll. It's all about being a professional before you become a professional. So those habits usually lead to opportunities. So when the opportunity comes, most of these players are ready to take it. So I expect most of these players, 99% of these players in this mentorship program to be professional footballers because we are going to be professionals before the opportunity comes. So when they do come, I expect every one of them to be signing deals here, left, right, and center. Why? Because the habits of being a professional footballer have already been embedded in. Now it's just like, who's going to give me that deal? Who's going to give my players that deal? Because once they get the opportunities, they're taking it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you said, with the academy, building in these habits such as getting that warm up, getting those recovery stretches, trying to encourage them to do stuff like that, that you would be doing at a professional standard, getting them early on, builds that up and it becomes second nature to them. So when they do take that step into professional setup, it's all what these lads have only started doing. The kids that have been with us have been doing for the last 7, 8 years. So it's natural to them. So they don't see it as something new that they have to do or something that they've only realised as, oh, what is this? They've been doing it all the way up since they started. So it's almost another step ahead because their recovery and their setup to training and matches is already up there with the top of the best of the best.
Excellent. Why most players quit too early?
From personal experience with players I've talked to and some of my mates that have been around professional and haven't made it or given up football, a lot of it is that sacrifice. They couldn't hack missing out on friends' birthdays, families' birthdays because they had a match away. Like if they're playing League of One, they had a match up in Kerry and they're missing out on their cousin's birthday. A lot of that took a toll on them and they just couldn't do it anymore. So they decided to stop playing professional and come back to the amateur setup where they had a lot more freedom and time to spend with their friends and family. Just a lot of players can't hack the kind of what you'd say is like loneliness because a lot of the time you are by yourself or you're with your team. So that'll be a huge thing why players end up quitting early because they kind of get in their own heads about it and start second guessing all the decisions they made leading up to that point in their life.
When it gets hard, you know what I mean? Because it is quite relentless to be a footballer when you realize, oh, geez, this is relentless. It's non-stop. I can't do it. But a lot of times I kind of explain to players when they get to a certain age and they really believe that they want to be professionals and their mindset is to become a professional and stuff like that. I tell them, look, this is what's going to happen in time. You know what I mean? It is relentless. You're going to feel like I want to give up sometimes, but if you're persistent enough to continue, you will possibly more than likely get your rewards. But players do quit too early because it is quite relentless. It is quite demanding. It's like every day I got to train. Every day I got to do something. End of the season is when you rejuvenate, recover and go again, whatever. You get 10 days break or whatever. But during that season, you have to know it is what it is. It is relentless. And then if you kind of get your mind believing that, usually quitting too early is not as difficult. It's just some players, coaches or people don't explain to them that it is relentless. But if you prepare them early, you let them know, look, it is going to be relentless. So, prepare your mind for it. But when the end of the season comes, when we get to the last stop where the bus packs up, at the end of the season, you get to rejuvenate and then you go again. Sometimes, obviously, some leagues are giving mid-season breaks as well now where you get a 7 days off. So rather than quitting, you can use the opportunity to rejuvenate and go again. But yeah, the relentless nature of sports, of anything being the best at anything, it's quite relentless. Sometimes you're like, wow, when do we start preparing? I want to do well. I want to win. I want the academy to win. I want the coaches to win. I want the players to win. And I already know what I signed up for. It is going to be relentless because we want to be the best. We want the academy to be the best academy in the world. So it is relentless. But once you buy into it, if you want to be successful, it's usually easier to manage. Can anyone become a professional professional? Can anyone become a professional?
Yeah, like anyone can become a professional. The opportunities and the tools are there for you. It's just whether you want it or not. It's kind of everything's there for you. The one-to-one session, the academies, the tools to go do your own work, the gyms to do your strength and conditioning. Everything's there for you at your disposal. It's just how much do you want it? How hungry are you to become a professional that can stop you? It's all your mental strength that will stop you.
Anyone can dream to be anything. Obviously, you need a bit of talent. Like if you can't kick a ball at the age of 14, 15, you can pack that dream up. Like, you know what I mean? But if you've been playing football, like, all your life since you're a certain age or whatever, and you're playing, you're half decent because you need the technique. So someone needs to have some basic talent, entry level talent. Entry level talent means talent that we can build on to make you a pro. Yeah. So if you have that basic talent because you've worked hard, part of having that talent is hard working hard, training every day and all that jazz. If you've done that and you come at a certain age, then people can take it to that next level. But if you haven't worked hard, the reason why, some players who are talented, some people have to kind of work it, earn it. So anything is possible if you work hard at it. From an early age, you go to practice, you go to extra sessions. In a modern day, in 2026, like I say, there's a lot of private sessions, private academies where you get your supplemental trainings. You kind of hammer those things home and you do your own individual bit, then you do your team bit. The chances of making it as a professional is really high now. And like I said, if you're paired up with the right coaches, the right team that can get you there, it can become even faster as well. So yes, anyone can become a professional with the right entry talent.
Probably the biggest mistake I've seen come from players that are trying to step up to a professional level is thinking because they've put the work in, they deserve all this. And when they're not getting it, it's kind of like blaming everyone else and not holding themselves accountable. Like I've seen players, they've put in the extra sessions and fair play to them, they've done all the work. But then when it came to like kind of so-called voluntary sessions, where it's like, it's a Saturday morning, we're just going to meet up and have an hour match or kick about or something, just kind of keep the legs ticking and keep the blood flowing and keep that touch of the ball. Then players going, it's not, I don't need to be there. So they're kind of going, right, I'll just relax then for the weekend. And those things, coaches notice them things, and those all add up over the course of 2-3 seasons. And eventually you might have more talent than the person beside you, but because they're showing up to everything, whether it's mandatory or voluntary, they're getting the opportunities because you can see that the work ethic is there and the discipline is there to show up no matter what. And players start to blame everyone else rather than hold themselves accountable.
The biggest mistake for me would be not giving it a go, not going 100%, being safe, don't be safe, go on the front foot, you know what I mean? Give it a go. And look, if you give it a go and you don't get to where you need to, you'd be like, yeah, at least I gave it everything. You know what I mean? But regrets can be not giving it a good go to be the best that you can. Right. We've come to the end of this episode. Thanks for listening to the Modern Legacy podcast, everyone. Okay. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review and share with your teammates, parent or coach who could benefit from our conversations. You can also watch the video episodes on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify and learn more about our programs on modernlegacyacademy.com to see all the programs we have to offer. Next time, keep improving and continue building your legacy. See you on the next one.